Hello and welcome to another episode of Draw a Card. I am Travis. I'm a comic book artist and illustrator, and this is the video series where I take vintage trading cards and draw an homage to that trading card art. If you haven't already, make sure to check out those other videos. I haven't really been posting too many videos lately, but I'm working on changing that. But anyway, on to the card today. The card today that we're going to draw is not a comic book card. This is like I think the second one I've done that's not actually a comic book based trading card, and a bunch of these are Dragon Ball Z cards. Late 90s, I was obsessed with Dragon Ball Z. So I have some of the figures back there. I have actually more in a tote in another room. But I was a big fan of that show, and before I could even get like figures, like the idea of even getting trading cards was amazing because I had a friend who had some, and he only had a couple, and like I don't even know how he had some, but we both wanted to get more of these, and then we found a random rumor. I guess this is before the internet or before people talked about this stuff on the internet. Anyway, found out you could find them at Hot Topic, and it's the same Hot Topic we have today, except they definitely catered to a different breed of people. It's a lot more like piercings, goth accessories, it wasn't really that much like pop culture or, they still have band shirts and everything, but that's not who they catered to then. But anyway, they had all that, and then in one part of the store, they just had random anime stuff. Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, and I think maybe Cowboy Bebop. But that's like, there was only like a few titles of merchandise they would have. And one of the things they had in a display case were these Dragon Ball Z cards. We bought a bunch of packs of those cards. And I chose this one. This is Vegeta in the Great Ape form. I think it's called Oozaru. I'm probably butchering that. But it's like this Great Ape transformation. It's a transformation Vegeta goes through during the battle with Goku. That was pretty cool, and I wanted to give it a try. But I'm going to be honest here. I usually record me drawing like first, and then I'll do like this video where I talk about what card and what I use for it. But I wasn't really happy with the way this came out, and I almost redid it. It still looks good, but I think I made some wrong choices, and I'll talk about that while the actual drawing part of the video is happening. There's definitely things I learned from this. I decided to use some new materials. Ones that I haven't used before, and ones I used in the Gambit live video. If you haven't seen that, I'll put up a link. You can watch that. You can skip through and just kind of see what I was doing. That new material was like these gray sketch markers, which I'll talk more about in a sec. And I decided to use these things called screen tones, and I'll show those off in a second. But the whole point of me doing these videos was working traditional, because when I do comic book pages, I usually use a computer. I use a computer program. And what's nice about that is if I mess something up, I can always undo it. And you can't with this. And the whole point of me doing that was to get better with doing traditional stuff and trying to draw without training wheels. I had a artist friend say, like, working digital is like drawing with training wheels on, which is true, because you don't really have to worry. You can quickly try different things if something's not working. You can save something, delete a layer, if something's not working. You can't do that with traditional. Anyway, I'm rambling on. Before I go into the tools I use, please make sure to like this video if you do enjoy it. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. So I'm not going to show... I realize I keep showing a pencil. Guys, I use a pencil, basic number 2 pencil. Any old rubber eraser is fine. This is I have like several Prismacolor rubber erasers I've used. Kneaded eraser. That's like I do also have my pen eraser, which is very handy. It's just all adjustable. It's really great for narrow spots compared to using, this wide end here. Now, what else? What else? Of course, I have my Faber-Castell brush pen and soft chisel. Oh, soft chisel and brush pen. That's that brush tip. Soft chisel. Now, to be honest, I originally kept track of what fine point pens I use in this, but to be honest, I think I just ended up mixing them up. A lot of these are just use Prismacolor, just various sized fine point pens. Can't remember the thing's picking it out. But I used a couple different microns, a 0.8 and a 0.3 micron. And I think I also switched up with a 0.1 Prismacolor. And I might have used a 0.3 if I just had it on hand while I was doing this. And also, of course, just a basic black Sharpie. Oh, and to go back to those micron and Prismacolor pens, honestly, if people are wondering what's better between them, you can't go wrong. Whatever's on sale, in my opinion. I've heard people say the microns run out faster. I don't know if that's actually true. They both work fine. Microns might have a slightly better tip to it, but I'd recommend to honestly give them a try. If you go to a Michael's or a regular local art supply, like a non-chain one, a lot of those places allow you to try out those pens before you buy them. So anyway, yeah, I think I just mentioned black Sharpie. I had these. Another thing from Michael's. I don't have like a local art shop around here. I just have a Michael's that's kind of close to me. But anyway, I have these sketch gray markers that I end up using. Of course, French curves. Just for there's some curved lines. To kind of draw those pads, those shoulder pads that he has. Use a combination of stuff, and I'll explain why I use these like this. This is a jelly roll, scored jelly roll pen, white Prismacolor color pencil, and whiteout. I use the whiteout for like extreme highlights. And if anyone's wondering why I'm using whiteout versus like an opaque ink, it's just what I have on hand. I probably could have picked some up when I went to Michael's, but during all the pandemic and everything, I haven't really been able to go out and buy everything that I want. But that's what I have on hand, and you can use that. I would probably recommend it if you do use that a lot, and I will eventually do this as well. I'll just get some opaque white ink and use that instead of whiteout. And just grabbing these. This is new. I have a video coming out probably after this one, doing a, I guess you'd say like an unboxing or opening because it didn't come in a box. But anyway, deleter screens. And if you're not sure what a deleter screen is, they're also known as screen tones. If you ever open up a manga, or you might have noticed like maybe some older comics might have a dot pattern in there. That's what this is. So I'll go over that and how that works. I don't have it with me right now, but something else, if you do use these, you would definitely need a X-Acto knife, a sharp X-Acto knife, and be very careful. If you are not used to using that, please don't do that. Use these and use that because it can ruin your art, and also if you're not careful, you might hurt yourself. And I'll go over a little bit more of that in the other video. But without further much to say on this, God, I'm terrible at phrases. Anyway, let's go right in the video, shall we? Okay, So we're starting off as usual with a bounding box that I draw separately. And also, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but I'm using the Canson paper that I used during a live stream that I'll put a link to, co-hosted by my friend Adam. And anyway, going in, I'm just building up the form of Vegeta's ape form, kind of keeping very close to the card. I'm really not happy with that face. And I kept going back and working on it because, in hindsight, I wish I probably would have turned the whole figure a little bit more towards the camera. I was trying to turn the character a little bit as opposed to the card. That's what I should have done, and also I should have made the head a little bit more expressive in terms of the tilt. And I kind of get what I want, but kind of not. You're going to see me go back and forth for a bit on this. So right now I'm just tightening up, getting to where I want the armor to be. I will say this paper versus the cardstock I normally use is a lot more forgiving with the pencil. It's just a Canson, it's a specific paper that has different texture on it. It's a mixed media. You can use charcoal watercolor. It holds media very well for it. I would suggest checking it out. You can probably find it on Amazon or Michael's, or a local art store, of course. So now I'm getting into inking. I'm just using a Micron on the 0A just to get an outline, because I will go back along that contour line, that outside line that I just did, and beef it up with the brush pen, the Faber-Castell brush pen. So now I'm using the 03, going in, doing like the finer details. This you're gonna see I'm not putting a lot of detail into what I'm drawing because I plan on using these sketch markers. And when you're using the sketch markers, for me personally, you're gonna let the sketch markers do a lot of the shading, because I think sometimes it could be overdone if I do a lot of hatching or a lot of line work along with the pens. But it's just personal preference. So obviously I cleaned it up and I'm just left with just my line art. So I'm going in just doing kind of like just a base gray on certain areas, and I'm trying to get a feel of how dark I want to make certain areas. And I'm also going in working light to dark. So I'll start with a lighter gray and then work to a dark one, and then I'll use the lighter of the two colors, what I just used, and I'll blend the two in. So if you see me going back with a lighter color gray after I just use a dark one, that's why. It's to blend in those grays. So also something I should note by using grays, I'm also using it to kind of round out the armor, also to show different textures as well, especially if you look on the chest plate and trying to at least portray it's at least reflecting some light. And the same with the arm pads. So now I'm going in, beefing up some details. Now there's the brush pen, getting my contour lines all done. Adding a contour line really pumps the piece up in terms of separating from the background. So now here, I just brought in my screen tones, and basically I'm tracing out patterns. And I'm trying to also use as little as possible, because these screens are not super expensive, but I definitely don't want to go through all that material pretty fast, and these areas are pretty big that I'm using. So right now I'm actually just using a Fandango card to help smooth it out, but because it's a 2-ply on these screen tones, you peel the backing off and then you adhere it to the actual image, and then I take my X-Acto and I am just kind of carving out what I want to keep and peeling away, carefully peeling away the excess. So you might notice there's a little piece that actually tore off when I wasn't being super careful, but the material is somewhat forgiving sometimes, so you can just kind of paste it back if it does tear a little bit like that. So now I'm just doing the rest of these. So I'm using the darker tones and the lighter tones. So there's 4 tones total, going from a lighter dot pattern to a darker dot pattern. And the first one I use is actually the darkest of the patterns. And I'm going through, and I'm actually using, I think, all 4 in these. Originally I was just going to use 3 of the 4, but I ended up using all 4. Something to note too when you're using these screens, this is my first time actually using these, but if you're actually, applying a screen tone over another screen tone, you could get away with that. It'll make your original area a little bit darker, and I find it'll probably be best if you would just try and cut away. And you have to be very careful if you're cutting a screen tone that's covering up another screen tone. You just have to be a little bit careful when you're doing this. So if you can see, what I'm doing now is called tone scraping, and I realized that doing this on a dark color paper, you're really not going to notice all of the scraping I'm doing. If this was like a white piece of paper, white cardstock, you'd probably notice me scrape some of that tone off a little bit more. So I kind of abandoned that. I'm just going to use whiteout and the jelly roll pen and other things to do highlights. In hindsight, after all this, I wish I didn't actually use any white jelly roll or the markers or anything. I think it actually better without you doing those highlights. But something to learn from. Keep that in mind. Don't be afraid to try different things. Learn from it if you don't like it. That's the best thing I could recommend to do. So if you had seen, I was actually drawing in that moon that transforms Vegeta, so that's what that left corner is. And I'm pretty much almost done, just doing some touch-ups. Okay, so here's the finished product. Like I said, I'm not too happy with it, but it is what it is. I'm definitely learning from it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And also, if you did enjoy this video, please consider giving it a like. See you in the next one. Thanks.